How many times have you told yourself, I'll go on vacation in a few months when my work eases up? Or I will join the gym hopefully next year. Or, you know what? I want to move, but this is not the right time, and I will move hopefully when things get better. Or I really, really don't like this job, but I don't know, I don't have this degree, I don't have these certifications, and maybe when all of those things happen, I will look for a new job. Are you seeing a theme in all of this? Especially the word hope. And, I often joke that hope is hope is a poor man's dream. It never happens. Hope is something that means it's not going to happen when you hope for something. And in this episode, what I'm going to bring to you is how to operate from outside of circumstances, how to operate from possibilities versus circumstances. Everything that I described so far is all circumstances driven. And we all have gotten into the trap of that, including me. I have done it many times in my life. And what I bring to you this week is beyond hope. It is certainty of how you can make something happen in your life when you live from possibilities. So stay tuned and welcome. Hello, visionaries. Welcome to Create Your Vibrant Life podcast, where you can create the life you desire by tapping into your inner wisdom. I'm your host, Padma Ali. I'm widely known in the field of psychology to create long-lasting transformation. And now I'm here to help you create the life you desire using a combination of neuropsychology and ancient healing practices. This podcast is for you, evolved, overachieving leader who's ready to unlock your highest potential. I'm here to guide you through a process of self-discovery to be the creator of your destiny. And you can do all of that by just taking aligned actions, tapping into the power of your brain, your inner wisdom, and ancient practices. So stay tuned, folks. I am so delighted you are here. Welcome to episode 82 of the Create Your Vibrant Life podcast. This is your host, Padma Ali. I am so glad you're here. And the fact that you're here and listening to these episodes tells me that you have found value in listening to them. So I'm really grateful for creating that expansion in your life. So today we're going to be talking about letting go of your circumstances and working from possibilities. What specifically do I mean by that? And why am I bringing this to your attention? First of all, I did misspeak when I spoke in the intro about certainty. There is no certainty in life, is there? But what I'm inviting you to do here is to start thinking outside of your circumstances. And as you may have already noticed, I share a lot of my own experiences in these episodes because that's the only way I can bring to you the learnings that I have had through my own life experiences. Sometimes I bring in clients' experiences, but for confidentiality's sake, I do not bring in that information because I don't want to breach anyone's confidentiality, and everything that I do in my sessions with my clients is very sacred, and so I'm very respectful of that. So that leaves just me. So I bring in my own life experiences to show you how you can move from point A to point B, because if you are experiencing that, most likely I have done it too. And so I get to bring to you my own personal experiences of how I've moved through things. And everything that I share, it's not for the sake of sharing or to entertain you. It is for the sake of transformation. It is for the sake of giving you something different to think about it, bringing in a different perspective that is going to help evolve your life. So, coming back to this episode on circumstances, have you noticed how you, me, all of us put ceilings on our own desires? Have you noticed how we put ourselves in a box? You know this term, we think, so we are. That phrase, I'm sure you've heard of it. We think, so we are. Whatever you think, that is what defines you. And our thinking is very limited. Our thinking is literally like that frog in a pond who thinks the entire world is the pond. But there's this whole new world that exists outside the pond. But the frog doesn't know that. So the frog thinks, oh, this is the pond. I have to live in this pond. And this episode specifically is to broaden your perspective that there is more to life than what you think you know. And it starts with noticing how you might have put a ceiling on yourself. Like how I started this episode with, I will do it later because this is not the right time. Or I'm going to do it when something else happens. That is living from circumstances. And notice how you might have limited yourself because of the circumstances. Think about this example for a minute. Okay, you're looking for a job and you find this job description, and that is exactly what you want to do. Most of my listeners either have a job or are entrepreneurs, so you can apply whatever you want to this example. And where was I going with this? Okay, I'm backtracking. What was I saying? Okay, so say you're looking for a job and you find a job description that is like exactly what you want. And then in the bottom it says requirement. We're looking for someone with a PhD and you have a master's or you have a bachelor's. But you know that you have all the skills that they're asking for in that job, and you know you'll be darn good at it. What do? Do you automatically take yourself off of the candidate list or even applying because you think that the job, they won't accept it without that degree or whatever they're asking for? Or are you one of those people who are like, hell yeah, I'm going to apply because I know I'm good at this and I am still going to do my best to apply. That is, and there is no right or wrong, friends. There are no right or wrong answers to any of this. This is an invitation to look at yourself, because when you bring awareness to your own self, when you are able to truly look at within you, that is when you know how to surpass whatever limitations you have placed. And visionaries, I put limitations on myself too, unconsciously sometimes, but I have learned to recognize them and see whether they're serving me or not serving me and how to work with it. Now, let me give you another example. You want to buy something, and the moment you see the price tag, and you're like, oh, this is over my budget, but you really, really like it. I don't care what it is, okay? Whether it's a physical item or an experience you want to have, whatever that might be. Do you immediately rule it off saying, this is too expensive. I will come back to it later when I have the money. Or this is way over my budget. I'm not going to do it. Just something to think about again. I'm sure you've had experiences like this. Again, no right or wrong answer. This is just an invitation to look at, are you operating from circumstances or from what's possible? Now let me ask you, has there ever been a time in your life where you wanted something and it felt way out of your league or your price point or your experiences in life or whatever that might be, like that job description that I gave you, and you knew you wanted it and you were like, I am going to make it happen. I'm going to figure it out and make it happen. I'm pausing there for a moment because I want you to really ponder upon this. And I bet you, each and every one of you listening to this episode right now is going to say yes. I bet there was a time in your life where you decided you wanted something even though it felt like it was going to be outside your league, and you made it happen. That, my dear friends, is you surpassing your circumstances. And I bet you came up with at least one example where you made it happen even though the path wasn't clear. But it came with this conviction that you knew you could do it, and it came from a place of possibilities and not from limitation. I really want this to sink in. This is so vital in life. Otherwise, you'll be like that frog in the pond, thinking the pond is your entire world, and there is a whole world that exists, and all you have to do is open yourself up to possibilities. And in this episode, I am going to give you ways on how you can surpass your circumstances. As I was thinking about this episode, I thought about Harriet Tubman. Have you heard of her? And if you don't know her story, it is really worth reading up on. She was an enslaved woman, and in the 1800s, and she became a conductor of the Underground Railway, basically leading enslaved people to freedom. This was before the Civil War in the United States. I know I have listeners all over the world, and this is in the United States in the 1800s. And she was a Black woman who helped hundreds of enslaved people to freedom. And she was a woman. She was a slave. There was a bounty on her head, which meant basically like if she was caught, she was going to be shot on right in that moment. And she's one of the most recognized icons in American history. And she has inspired countless people from different races and background. It is very inspiring. Now, what if she had operated from circumstances that she's a woman, she's a slave, she is trapped? What if she had operated from that place? Do you think that she could have inspired so many people 100 years plus later? Right? Revolutionary thinkers do not act from circumstances. Einstein is a great example. Right? Revolutionary thinkers stay in their lane. They do not pay attention. I'm going to use this word, facts. Because facts are subjective, is it not? What you think of as a fact, like that frog in a pond who thinks that the pond is his entire universe, is that a fact or is that a subjective fact? Our mind, our brain, there's a distinction between brain and mind, which I'm not going to go into right now. The brain is limited in its thinking because the brain only knows what it knows based on the experiences you have had in the past. And there is more to life than just your experiences. I often think about this. The only fact is where the sun rises up from, right? And how cold or hot it is subjective. So I'm using that as an example. There are a few other facts in life, but this is just an example that I came up with. And my invitation to you as you're listening to this episode is to look at where in your life are you operating from circumstance. Is it when it comes to money? Is it your job, your career, your relationship? Where are you acting from circumstance? Anytime we feel like things are happening to you, to us, you are acting from circumstance. And my invitation to you is to think outside the box. I'm going to use a metaphor. say you're stuck in a box, okay? And you're waiting for the key and for someone to give you the key to get out of this box. And you're trapped and you're like, how do I get out of this box? I feel so trapped and no one's coming to save me. Why am I not finding the key? And maybe it'll come. Maybe I'll find the key after something else changes. Circumstances. However, the key to get out of the box is outside the box. You have to find the keys outside, and that is how you will get out of the box. I used to live that way. I used to constantly wait for something else to change. Maybe not constantly, but like I would wait for something to change in order for me to feel better. And that's like that is a pie in the sky. That doesn't happen, right? One day I had a dream. It was so significant. It was really significant. It was a long time ago. So in my dream, and this was when I was really struggling, I was struggling with a lot of different things in my life. And in my dream, I saw that I was there was a door and the door was locked. But on the other side of the locked door was everything that I wanted, like success and whatever I used to think as success back then. And in my dream, I couldn't find the key. The door was locked and I could not find the key. And I woke up feeling so horrible. And after that, I sat in meditation and I was reflecting on this dream because dreams are a powerful way to get messages. In my meditation, what was revealed to me was the door was made up by me. The lost key was made up by me. There was no door. There was no lost key. I had made up these things in my head because I had created these barriers in my own life. And I didn't know whether to laugh or cry at that moment, but I remember this dream very vividly. It was so significant because this is how so many of us live our life, right? There's this fictitious doors we create, these fictitious boxes we create around ourselves, thinking this is it. We can't go any further because we have these ceilings on top of our dreams or desires or vision. So I really invite you to look at where in your life are you operating from circumstances? What do you want? Have you truly explored what you want is possible or not? Or have you written it off already? In neuro-linguistic programming, which I'm a practitioner of, there's a quote. It says, the quality of your life is dependent on the quality of the questions you ask yourself. The quality of your life is dependent on the quality of questions you're asking yourself. So let me ask you, what kind of questions are you asking? When you have a desire, like you say you want something and it looks like it is a little over what you want to spend, what questions are you asking yourself? Are you saying, this is not possible? Or are you saying, how can I make it work? How can I do this? What would it take for me to have what I want? So many people live from a place of resignation. They give up. 98% of the population lives from that place of like, you know what? One thing after another, just go through life, go through the motions of life. And one day you're old and rickety, and then you're like, what happened to my life? Right? So here is an opportunity to create whatever you want. It all depends on what are you telling yourself and what questions are you asking. I reflect on our move this year. This year has been crazy epic for me. Like it's changed so many things in my life. And it all started with a vision. It all started with having a vision that when we visited Sedona, I was like, I want to live here. There's something about this place that feels magical, and I intuitively felt guided to move our family. And when I came here, if you've heard any of my episodes, I've talked about this. I had no plans of moving, but when I went back and that desire came up, I could have easily squashed it because our life was well established. My husband's company is still based there, right? Our life was very well established there. We had a home, like everything was like we were living, already had a rhythm going in our life. And this would mean disrupting everything. And this is where the questions came up. Okay, first I had to get clear whether this was a real desire or just like something that was just a passing thing. No, it was a real desire. Somebody was telling me the other day, it was my old dentist in Boston. He was, I'd gone to him for a final cleaning and he was like, where are you moving? And I said, we're moving. And I told him, like, we're moving. And he said, why are you moving there? Do you have a job? Do you have family? This is the first question most people ask. And I said, no. And I said, we went on vacation. And he says, this is really funny. He says, my wife says that every time we go on vacation, she's like, I want to live here. And you are the first person I've met who goes on vacation and wants to move somewhere and is doing it. I don't know. I found that very funny that and I'm sure I sounded cuckoo to some people. I'm like, what are you doing, right? But this was my heart's desire, and this was right for our family, so we did it. And the questions I had to ask, is this the right one? How am I going to make it happen was the first question. Not, is it going to happen? How hard is it going to be? No, how am I going to do it? And then everything, I still had to take actions. And if you heard my podcast, you've heard me talk about aligned actions. You have to take actions. I had to take actions. I had to find movers. I had to find, we had to get our house on the market. Like all these things we had to do. And it started with asking the right questions. And when we moved here, we're still in that Airbnb, and that's okay. And okay, this is a great story. Again, I'm sharing these stories with you because I really want you to think outside the box. See how you can apply this to your own life. Think about your desires. Think about how you're holding yourself back. What if you asked yourself different questions? So we found our home. Okay, so we were looking and nothing felt right to me. You know how intuitively guided I am about what's right. And many of these homes were beautiful. But nope, I was looking for something in particular, and we walked into this one home. And that was it. I just knew this was my home. This is it. And this was such a beautiful thing. I look at my husband looks at me, and we both were like, this is it. Now, we knew what the price point was of that home. And as it is always, it was not something that we had planned for. And it was something that was more than what we wanted to invest in our home. But this was our home. So again, this is how we start. We have trained our brains to think, not like, oh, this is over our budget. I don't know. But we went back and we were like, how can we make this happen? What do we need to do? And obviously we had to do our numbers and all that. But the question was, how do we make it happen versus this is not going to happen? And it was crazy up-leveling for us. And it is a good thing because this is how you break through ceilings, right? This is how you surpass your circumstances. Again, it starts with asking the right questions and not trapping yourself because you think this is all you can do. In the next episode, I'm going to actually talk about the 2 steps to having whatever you want in your life. There are just 2 steps to making anything happen in your life. And I want to share that with you guys. But more than anything else, what I'm inviting you all to sit with and consider is, where in your life are you trapping yourself because you think you cannot do something? I was talking to someone the other day, and how we trap ourselves. we talk ourselves into something or out of something. She really wanted to have this experience or do something, but she was concerned that how it would affect her family or how it would affect her relationships. Again, that's a trap, right? My whole thing is, if you want something, go for it. Ask yourself how to make it happen. That is it. I know I'm repeating myself, but repetition is the master of learning. And I really want to sink it. Oh, I can't even speak. I really want this to sink in. You can have anything you want. The world is your oyster. What are you going to choose is the question. And how are you going to make it happen? And I gave you the example of Harriet Tubman for a reason, or Einstein, or if in recent times you can think about even Elon Musk. No one could even think about, he really thought outside the box. I don't care how he is as a boss or how he treats his employees. I don't care about all that. But look at his innovation. Does he buy into, no, I can't make that happen? Oh no, this rocket ship will not fly. Oh no, how can we make that happen? That is going to crash. Will it really fly into outer space? Can I do that? No, you want something, you're going to ask questions that is going to support that desire, not deter that desire. All right, that's what I got for you today. Share with me your takeaways. Take a screenshot of this episode and tag me on Instagram with your takeaways. And tell me how you're changing your life as a result of this, because that's what I want for you. I want you to have everything and anything you want. Guys, I come from very humble beginnings. I might have shared this in other episodes. We used to live in a 1-bedroom house when I was growing up with 7 people, I think. 7 people. I had to count in my head how many people lived in our home. 7 of us living in a 1-bedroom house. And, and we were considered middle class. And, the bottom line is, your life is the result of what you want and desire and how you're going to make it happen. So my invitation to you is to dream big and go change the world, because that's what you're here for. Each and every one of us is here to change the world, to be a better place. And, again, if I can surpass so many of my circumstances, and obviously we're talking about physical things, even mental stuff. I lived for most of my life with anxiety. Oh, goodness, the amount of mornings I would wake up with my heart just beating so fast and this fluttery feeling in my belly and feeling so anxious. That's how I lived for the longest time. Now I live in peace. No matter what the heck happens around me, I'm mostly in peace. And if I'm not, it's an opportunity to go inwards and say, what do I need to create the peace back in my life? And even right now, living in this Airbnb, there are 5 of us. My mom is living with us right now, helping us out for a little bit. And it's uncomfortable. I don't like it here. But it's an opportunity. I can complain about it, or I can lean into the discomfort and just be. This is where I often look at my kids and go, wow, they're such teachers for me. They don't care. They really don't care. Wherever they are happy. They are just themselves. They don't have any of their toys. Our stuff is all over the place, meaning there's some still in the storage and we don't have our things and we're all sleeping literally on top of each other. There is no space. And they don't care. They're literally in the present moment. And that's where all creation happens. All right, I've gone all over the place. My invitation to you, once again, is to go back and to see where in your life are you putting limitations on yourself. How can you work with that limitation rather than saying, I can't have something? Ask, how can I make it happen? It's a simple question. All right, my friends, I will see you next week. Thank you for being a part of this journey. And have a beautiful day, evening, night, wherever you're listening from. I'm grateful for you. I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much for listening. I have a request for you. If you found value, chances are that your friends and family will too. So if you can leave a positive review on iTunes, it will help reach so many more people. And if you have any topics or questions you would like me to feature, please send them to support@padmaali.com. And lastly, please share your takeaways and breakthroughs with me on Instagram @Padma Ali. Thank you so much for tuning in.